Welcome to Rhythms That Restore. I'm your friend Cherisse that's ready to journey beside you. Let's learn rhythms that can restore our minds, hearts, bodies, and spirits, and allow us to walk confidently in who God has called us to be. Are you ready? Pull up a chair. Let's get started. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Rhythms That Restore and to February 2025. Oh my goodness, we're in a whole new year. And I'm so thrilled to have my friend in studio with me, Christie Willumsen. Welcome, Christie.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Woo, and y'all, Christie is out of her comfort zone being here with me today. But I love the words you said, but I coined the title of this episode, The Ministry of Presence. And I think that's such a beautiful way to describe who you are, that you are so intentional, Christie, about your time and about who you spend time with, and your gifting is in being present with others. And I thought, what a beautiful way for us to continue walking in this new year is how can we focus more on presence, our presence with being with the Lord, our presence with being with friends, and even just our presence with being with ourselves, with the Lord, and like, Lord, what do you have for me? And what are you saying for me? Yeah. So we'll talk more about that, but thanks for that. Thanks for naming the episode. She didn't even know you did it. But y'all, I've known Christie for a long time. I don't know how many years. We met at church. How did I even meet Bob? We met through Christie's husband, Bob, who so many people know of Bob. They don't even know Bob, but they know of Bob. I guess we met Bob through Andy and through being like working with the church. But Bob really came on as Matt and I's marriage mentor and did a marriage one day with us. And then he coached Matt for a whole year, business coached Matt. Yep. Lucky. Oh,
you got jealous.
I so wanted that for myself. I worked with Matt. So I would always be like, what did you get? What did you get? But Bob is an executive coach and a marriage coach. And there's he coaches everyone that he knows.
He does on church staff.
Yeah.
He does that kind of coaching too.
Yeah.
Biblical coaching, spiritual coaching. Yeah.
It's so cool. So
that's really good questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And so really Christie also has coached us on the side with Bob as a couple and given us lots of wisdom over the year. Continuing to
as I walk through too.
Yeah. Let me tell everybody a little bit more about you, and then we've got so much we want to talk to you guys about today as we're talking about the ministry of presence. When I asked Christie to tell us a little bit about herself, she said that she is a wife to Bob. For how many years have y'all been married?
15.
15 years.
Just celebrated 15 in October.
Okay. And you are a mom to your daughter who you said, well, we won't say her age. She might not want us to say her age.
Yeah. She's old enough.
That's right.
Because then it shows my age if I tell her.
That's true. To an adult daughter.
I have an adult daughter.
Yes. Who lives in Oklahoma.
She does.
And she's on staff of the church and her husband's on staff of the church. Yeah, which is really cool.
It's really cool.
And you guys have a brand new grandbaby.
Just turned 1 this weekend.
And so you are known as Lolly.
I'm Lolly.
How did you get that name?
We went through several names. She liked the idea of Lolly and Pop, but Pop is he's not. So it's ended up being Booba, which is, we crack up about because my daughter affectionately has always called him Boob ever since we got married. It's term of endearment. But it's, of course, I'm putting this out on a podcast right now. But we're like, well, you got Grandpa. It's like, what about Booba?
Yes.
And he can say Booba. Can't say Lolly, so it could come out Wally or Lala or I don't care whatever he calls me, will be fine.
That's how it ends up.
Whatever
like you'll hear friends, we've heard many friends, they'll say their grandparents' name. You're like, how did that come about? They're like, I don't know. That's just what came out.
Just what they call it.
And then forever, that's what it is.
Yep. So I'm just waiting to see what my name's actually going to be. He'll be good.
You love it so much.
I do. I do. It's a very different type of season watching your child parent, and you kind of take a little bit of a back seat and watch them struggle and figure things out and make their own path. It's really fun though. It's really good.
That's pretty
It's
cool.
Sweet.
Yeah. And you definitely have been burning up a path between here and there.
Yeah. Lots of driving. Lots of driving.
Yeah.
But I love it. Listen to audiobooks now.
I know.
So,
I know. You get to make your car your classroom.
I do.
It's the
I
best.
do.
I'm like, man, I need to take some road trips.
Take some road trips.
Books to listen to. So thank you for sharing about that. You also said that you work alongside of your husband, Bob, with his coaching business, Potential to Results. Yep. And that looks like a lot of things, doesn't it?
Yeah. Most of my stuff is all the behind the scenes type of QuickBooks, administrative invoicing, like all the behind. He calls me the CFO, which we lovingly refer to as can't follow orders, because being a married couple in business, he can't fire me and I can't quit. So we kind of laugh and joke about that. But yeah, I do all the backside stuff, sending assessments and whatnot.
That's pretty cool. And that's been a business that you guys started. How many years ago has that been?
I think it's been like 7 years.
Yeah.
So far.
It's been so exciting.
Yeah, it's been really exciting
to watch you guys as y'all stepped out in faith and to just see the impact that both of y'all are having on businesses, on marriages, on individuals, and on staff, because you guys also work with lots of different staff. So that's cool.
It's been fun.
I'm proud of y'all. Look at this. Look at all these different threads of surrender and obedience.
Oh man.
I know. We're getting in there. Christie also, it says she's a self-proclaimed total introvert.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which is why this is so exciting.
Yeah.
And painful.
It's stressful. Exciting. I have to reframe it. It's exciting. It is exciting.
It is. It's fun. And I feel like that too. It's a tension I walk every day doing this podcast. Like, oh my goodness, this is so out of my comfort zone. Oh, but it's so fun and exhilarating. Yeah. But I think that anytime, and both of us are doing that too, we're doing things we've never done before.
Absolutely.
And so there's that tension of, I want to do it. I want to learn new things, but it feels so uncomfortable and I'm not good at it. But yet, like when the Lord's leading you to do something, you're just like, okay, I'll take one more step forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm proud of you for that. And is the creator of the Journey Collective, which you're going to tell us more about. Yeah. Which, will tell us. I also love this, that you love naps and anything that you can eat or pet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, I'm an old person. I love to nap. I don't know. That might be my introversion. And my husband will laugh at me because we'll go somewhere and I'm not always the big party person. Like, is there anything there I can eat or can I pet? So, do they have a dog? Can I pet?
Therapeutic.
So usually I'm a very tactile kind of person. So
I think everyone listening was just like, amen. Yes. I love naps and I love good food.
Absolutely.
And give me Jack is upstairs, our golden doodle.
Okay.
He's sweet. He'll probably come in here a little bit.
Love.
But I wrote down that to me, you have just been an incredible friend who has mentored us. Even just, this is actually the first time we've ever got to be alone together.
Yep.
Just having coffee and having fun. But we know each other through Debbie and David, and then through Bob in our class. And then last year, Christie and Bob and our other friends, you guys taught our re-engage class. That Matt probably, he doesn't care, but I totally enrolled myself in by myself, a marriage class by myself. And it was the best thing I ever did.
Yep.
Yes, it was duck season. I was desperate. And so I showed up to class most days. He came 1 or 2 times.
He came a few times.
Yeah. But so Christy and Bob we've done that class twice.
Okay.
Re-engage. I'd do it a 3rd time if we teach it again.
You learn something new every time.
I love it. Yes. And so if anyone has never heard of re-engage, I mean, you guys have led it how many times?
A lot.
Yeah.
Years.
It is the best class because I think newlyweds always get like a newlywed class.
Yeah.
But for those of us that have been married longer, we're like, wait a second, we need something for us to truly help us re-engage in our marriage, prioritizing it, learning how to communicate better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're through your entire marriage, you're always learning. You never arrive at anything. You're constantly growing and your seasons are changing as a married couple. So what you experienced last year may not be what you experience next year.
That's so true. And I think sadly, I remember being a newlywed and being like, oh, someone's married 15 years. That's amazing. Yeah. They know everything.
They don't know anything. they don't know anything.
We're all like, oh no.
Yeah.
Right. Because every year we are changing. A lot of life changes. We change.
Yep.
Situations, circumstances change. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think for all of us, having a group of friends who are married and wanting to learn more about how to grow in their marriage, or even if you don't have like a Sunday school or a small group that you can join, reaching up to friends
Absolutely.
that can be like marriage mentors to you.
Yep.
And maybe wouldn't you say like 10 years, 15, 20 years ahead?
Yeah, just a little bit farther down the road.
Mhm.
They've just experienced things that you're probably going to experience.
Yeah.
You get to glean out of that wisdom.
Right. Just be like, hey, can we go to dinner or lunch with you guys once a month and let's just talk about that? And right.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So thank y'all. That's what y'all been to us.
Oh,
Appreciate it. Okay. So let's dive in. We wanted to talk about, there's so much I want to talk about, but obviously a lot of times I have my friends on because we want to talk about spiritual rhythms, and I love, as this new year is starting, we've talked a little bit about presence. Share a little bit more too about what are some daily practices that you have. I know that your journey has been one we'll talk about in a little bit, but as a total introvert.
Oh, a total introvert. A total introvert in an empty nest.
Okay.
So season of life is just different. I don't have littles in my house anymore. So I have plenty of time, which I thought would mean I've got all this time to study the Bible and read. And no, I don't do any of that. I'm hooked to my phone like everybody else in the country.
That's a good point.
Oh my goodness.
That's a good point, because there are a lot of women that are listening that are like, I don't have anyone home and I do have this time, but how do I do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it looks so different for everybody, and not getting caught in what you think it should look like. What one person's doing, it doesn't mean, I don't read my Bible an hour a day. They're, they may be really, really spiritual and really close to the Lord. It's like, well, I'm not doing that. So we condemn ourselves and put shame on ourselves.
Right.
So I found, for me, I'm not consistent in my Bible reading, but I try really hard to be. I have to create the discipline to not pick my phone up, which is the hardest thing for me to break right now. I think our phones are like the biggest enemy of intimacy with the Lord.
And everything else.
Right? We want that quick, whatever dopamine in your brain hit. So if I can not pick that up, and sometimes what I'm reading is just a very short couple scriptures, and then I like to just sit. I kind of just sit. My brain likes to wander. Bob does widgets, which is another kind of personality test. So I'm full of wonder. Ooh. So I like to just kind of think about things and kind of run down the road of what those things look like. So a lot of my time, and I talk to the Lord, and I'm not a big journaler because it comes in faster than I can write it. So really it's just settling myself. I kind of just like to get really still. A lot of it's just having worship music on. I'm a big worship music person.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest way that I connect with the Lord.
Like when you're sitting or when you're doing stuff?
Either.
All of it.
And I believe he lives in my car. It's kind of been the joke because I'll put worship music on in the car, and it's like you're enveloped in his presence. It's the strongest place that I feel. And it's just like this little nook of Jesus in my car. And I feel like that's the place where he talks to me the most sometimes too. That in the shower when you can't write anything down.
And you can't have your phone.
You can't have your
shower
phone.
in the car. I mean,
shower in your car. You shouldn't have your phone in the car looking at it. But those are like the two. It's like it's kind of, for me, it's just a feeling. It's kind of a settling in, just being. Yeah. And trying to be very aware of him.
It's like your own little sacred space.
It is. But it's in my car.
I love that. What are some of your favorite worship bands? Or who's your go-to?
Gosh, right now I'm listening to, it's SEU Worship. I think it's Southeastern University, and they're all young people. But they've just got some of their music has just been really, I've connected to a whole lot. Of course, I like Maverick City and anything that's deep.
Who is it that you sent me? I had sent you... Oh, no, I don't have my Spotify up. And then you sent me someone that was really good too. Amy Gamboya. No. The Upper Room.
Upper Room.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, I've never heard of this. You're like, yes.
Somebody at my daughter probably had sent it to me.
Beautiful.
And it was amazing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I kind of like the soaking kind of music that really focuses on him instead of focusing on me. So, and I kind of just like
Presence.
to sit in that and try to be reminded of truth.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get bombarded with everything that's so negative.
Yeah. And I love that the visual, but also the freedom, because I can be a little taskmaster.
Mhm.
And I am so good at shaming myself.
Mhm.
Like, you didn't do this and you didn't do
Yep.
this. And like, that's not God asking me to do any of that.
Yeah.
It's me forcing things on myself. And so being able to just release that,
Yeah.
and be like, the Lord just wants to be in your space.
Yeah. When you think about being in a relationship with people, it works. It's like you're not demanding anything from them. If they don't perform for you, they just want to be around you. They just want to sit with you. So being okay sitting with Jesus, not saying anything, just being.
Oh my goodness.
That's all I want.
Start crying right there, Christy. I brought my tissues in here. That is such a hard pill for me to swallow.
Yes, because we feel like we should be doing something.
Always. Always. Even when my counselor was like, just go for a walk with the Lord and don't say anything.
Yeah.
And don't even listen, like, don't put your earbuds in. And I was like, okay, I won't. But then I'm like praying and talking, like praying for all the people. And I'm like, just be quiet.
Yeah. It's really hard to do.
But if I can ever learn it, but what a beautiful practice to say, I can just show up. The Lord just wants to be with me.
Yeah. It's like sitting in a room with your spouse watching TV. You're not really talking to each other.
No.
But you're with each other.
Yeah. I'm also really bad at custody.
Girlfriend. Or your kids. Any relationships. You could just hang out with each other and you don't really have to say anything.
Yeah. This message is for me, the practice of presence. Oh, it's so good. That's so good. Okay. All right. So I want to know too, a little bit more of your story. Like, speaking of what a personal relationship is, you had told me, and I didn't know this before, that you grew up you went to a Catholic church, a Baptist church, a Methodist church, Assembly of God church. That's great. You've got so many things things to pull from, but that you really didn't understand a personal relationship with Jesus until you were 24.
Yeah.
How did you differentiate that? Like, what does that even mean?
I think growing up, I always went to churches like where my friends were.
Sure.
I was raised by my dad, so he didn't go to church anywhere. So whoever my friends were at the time was the church I plopped into. And I learned a lot, but I think I was raised Catholic, so I knew what rules were. I knew it felt like I had to perform for God. My dream when I was a kid was to be a nun, because nuns were the perfect goodness to me. I'm like, if I could just be a nun, then I would just be good. And then went to some other churches and felt more shame-based. Like, I would go to an altar and do an altar call, but it was because I felt so bad about myself. It wasn't really, it wasn't really that I was accepting his grace.
Yeah.
So I've kind of done all those type of churches. I'm so sorry. Can this be fun?
Let me see. We got, sometimes we've had bugmen at the door. Let me see. Let's see. Okay, y'all. That was fun. We had a first ever here in the studio. We had someone knocking at my door that wouldn't. Yeah.
They're flagging us through the window.
He
actually.
was persistent.
Persistent. We should all be so persistent.
Gosh.
We should all be
persistent in our presence.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So you were sharing about you went to church with who was going to
my
church.
friend group. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, whoever my friend group was at the time. But kind of through a series of choices. I had my daughter out of wedlock. I had her when I got pregnant when I was 18. It was 19. And then I had her when I was 20. So about 24, I had a very I was engaged, bought a house. The Lord had started drawing me at that time. And it was it was so strange because the office that I worked in at the time, I was in a back section of the office. It was me and the nurse practitioner. She was a pastor. So her and I would have all these conversations and I would ask a lot of questions, but I felt like I had a relationship with the Lord the whole time, but I didn't quite understand who he was. And so kind of right around that time, I'm starting to read a couple things. And then I'm with this guy, and my heart is to do the right thing.
Mm.
I really want to do the right thing. And we had gone to a church. It was an Assembly of God's church, and they were doing an illustrated sermon. And they had said something to the effect of, if you're ashamed of the Lord, he's going to be ashamed of you. I don't know how scriptural that is, but in my heart, it was like, I felt such shame. I was like, I don't want to feel that shame. And I knew he was calling me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did it all. I mean, I walked a line, I went up to the altar, and I gave my life to Christ. But it was one of those, the way it sounded, and I could be saying it incorrectly too, but it was one of those, I felt the shame, and I needed to bring that shame to him because he was the only one that could do anything with that.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I started reading the Bible while in this relationship and praying. I'm like, okay, Lord, he's going to set a date. We're going to get married. We're going to do the right thing. And it wasn't too long after that, I came home from work, and he's like, I'm leaving. And so my whole world crashed after accepting the Lord, but I knew that it was the right timing. And so that was probably the season of understanding. He's like, I'm about to walk you through a really hard season. And I didn't understand why. I'm like, but I prayed.
Right.
You didn't answer this the way I wanted you to answer it. And that's when the relationship started. It's like, I'm going to walk you through this in a relationship of rebuilding who I was as a person, who I was as a child of God, walking through all the shame and having him recreate and accept me who I was and put me in the most beautiful church. My daughter and I were able to go, and he put me in a Sunday school class. They were called Women of the Word. And these were all older women. And some of them were divorced, but they were all very much younger. So I would have been my early 20s, 26 is when I probably started really going to church. And that was after the whole thing had fallen apart and I was alone. I'm like, I need to go to church. I need to find something. And these women just took me in. They were my moms. It was really an amazing healing time. And they just kind of grew me up. I really needed a mom at that time. So it was really sweet to see how the Lord had already made a way through that whole process.
Because had everything gone the way that you
if he would have answered my prayer,
right,
man, things would have turned out so poorly.
Right.
It's like, I'm so glad he doesn't give us what we ask for. Even though we persist in asking him, he knows it's like, you don't want this, I promise. I can see farther down the road than you can. You don't want this.
No.
I'm so thankful he didn't answer that prayer.
And I love how you pointed that out. I know that I don't really know, but I can lead a lot with shame. And I love how you had said, I kind of took that shame and just laid it there.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe that shame comes from the Lord. I think that shame comes from the enemy, and he tries to hold us in with that.
Yeah.
And I love that you just were like, I'm laying that at your feet, Lord.
Yeah.
And surrendering that to you because he does just want you to come.
Just bring it to him.
Yes. Yeah. And then really just how you allowed him to continue drawing you near and getting to know him. The only way to get to know him is to be in his word.
Yeah.
And then to surround yourself with these women who were ahead of you in life that could just pull you in and just
raise me, basically.
Yeah. And comfort you and grow you in your faith, but also as a mom as a young woman. And again, like we talked about that earlier with marriage. Yeah. But for all of us to be brave and to reach up to someone that's ahead of us in life and just ask the question. I think so many times we'll hear women say like, oh, I sure wish I had someone like that. Yeah. Well, ask. Yeah. Don't wait for someone to ask you. Either ask or sign up for the class or put yourself in the space of others.
Absolutely.
We have to, they're not going to come knock on our door. Maybe sometimes, but
most of the time you have to take the step.
And you did.
It.
Yeah. And look at how the Lord was like, okay, yeah, now we're on the right path.
Yeah. And I can say it wasn't an easy path. There was a lot of tears. There was a lot of yelling at the Lord during that time, a lot of being on my face, a lot of worship. But it was the sweetest season with him. The hardest seasons are just sometimes the sweetest seasons. They just are that way. And I wish it wasn't. Yeah. But they just draw you. It's like when you're weak and you're brokenhearted, those are the people he's closest to.
Isn't that the truth?
Mhm.
It is. And when we're all in a valley, we never want to be in it.
No.
Ever. And we, we're like, why am I here? And we question and we're angry.
Yeah.
But then when after we've walked through it, we can see the sweetness of the Lord.
Oh, hindsight is
Yeah.
beautiful.
How he embraced us, how he walked with us, how he
Yeah.
brought others into our life or provided for us is one of the, like, none of us can ever even explain it.
No. So you know that when it's like what Moses, when they remembered the goodness of God and everything he had done. It's like when you're about to walk into that next one, it's like, I'm going to glean. I know what he's done. I know where he's brought me from. I know what he's done in my life. He's not going to let me down. He's going to take care of that too.
That's very good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that we're all only going to walk through one valley.
No, I wish.
No. Like, we will continue. That is where God does his refining. It's where he draws us back in, because I think if left to our own devices, we'll think we're all that.
We'll never grow.
Right.
We'll never get out of our comfort zone.
We're like, I'm so amazing. Look at me. He's like,
Exactly.
No, you're not. Actually.
That's so humbling of the Lord.
So let's talk about a little bit about that too. Let's talk about obedience and surrender. Like, as we're walking in our daily life, as we're wanting to grow, as the Lord is walking us, whether it's through a valley or a hilltop, walking in obedience is just holding our hands open and saying, all right, Lord, this is what I have.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have different things, right? Some of us are introverts, some of us are extroverts. Some of us have big circles of friends and small circles of friends or whatever.
Yep.
But when we open our hand and we just say, all right, Lord, he can do what he wants. He can do whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
So share with us a little bit more about the Journey Collective.
The Journey Collective.
Yeah. How did that even start?
The Journey Collective started. So we have some friends that lost their son, and we're very close with this family. And it's been a sweet, because I wasn't always close with them, but the Lord they were kind of a prayer assignment for me, even when I didn't know them really well. So I had been praying for their kids and for them for years. I have stuff marked in my Bible, like from a long time ago, that the Lord had kind of just given me a prayer assignment for them. So when they lost their son, which was extremely tragic, and there's no words for it. I wanted to do something. Like I like to make things. So I would like to make gifts. When I was in trouble as a kid, I would draw pictures for my dad. It's just the way that I show love. My mom is the same way. She likes to knit blankets and give them away. She's like, it's giving a piece of my heart to somebody. True. So I was really praying. I'm like, what can I give her? I'm like, because I can say I'm sorry. I can say I'm praying for you, but it wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I love like E-Newton bracelets. I love E-Newton bracelets. So I'm like, what can I do something? And I came up with the idea of a Morse code. I need a word. I want to give her maybe a word, something she can touch. I need something physical she can actually touch and look at. I'm a very tactile person like that. And I'm very sentimental. So like most of my jewelry all has a sentimental value to it. So I'm like, well, how can I do that? Give her something. And so it's like the word forever just kept popping into my head. I'm like, well, what do I do with that? Mm-hmm. And I really feel like the Lord gave me the idea for a Morse code bracelet with the beads. So the big beads are the dashes, the small beads are the dots. And I'm like, I'm going to put the word forever in a bracelet for her. And I love the kind that are stamped with the word, but I wanted something she didn't have to explain. She's the only person that knew whatever that bracelet meant. Okay. And so I made her the bracelet and I gave it to her. And the thing that I told her, it's always so hard to talk about it. It's like on this side of eternity, it's going to feel like a long time. Yeah. But the moment she sees him again, it'll be forever. Like she'll never have to experience separation from him again. Mm-hmm. And so to give her some kind of peace, because we say things to people that are grieving. It's like, well, heaven needed another angel, or, whatever stupid thing that we like to say because it makes us feel better to say it. Mm-hmm. I needed something that conveyed that I understood how hard this was going to be on this side of heaven, but that moment would exist when she didn't have to be separated from him. So that's when I made her that bracelet. And I'm like, as I thought about it and really prayed about it, I'm like, I could do this for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how it started. And then as I started it, I'd had other people that would ask, and it was usually for mothers that lost children. So the hardest, and so, I really prayed about that. And I've made other bracelets for other reasons. And usually it's whatever the word is that connects with you, that you can kind of keep close.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's a ministry, it's grieving.
Yeah.
And I really asked the Lord about what that was. And there is a ministry of grief. And that's something that I don't understand fully how that works for me,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that I do.
Really?
I'm a real empathetic person. So to feel that with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, that's just how I've gifted you, is that you're a carrier of grief for people.
Yeah.
So it's been really sweet to make the bracelets and to pray over the bracelets and know that people have some piece of something they can physically hold on to when you need to be grounded for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
that they have that. So that's how the Journey Collective started.
Wow.
I was like, well, we'll see where the Lord takes that.
Yeah. Have you all you do lots of creative things.
I love, I love to make things. I went through a season of macrame for a while, and all the family got macrame for Christmas, which was funny. And you can only have so much macrame in the house. So when I decided to pivot to, I did the bead bracelets, and I love them. And then now I'm learning actual silversmithing. Like I want to make heirloom jewelry people can have and they can keep. Like I have my grandmother's wedding ring. I'm like, there's I don't think we do that a whole lot anymore, of have sentimental or heirloom items that you can pass down to your kids.
So
Like
much
I
more
love
special.
I love jewelry like that. So that's kind of the goal of getting to that so far.
I love that. I love the visual of being able to look down and just for it to bring her back.
And nobody knows what it says but you.
That's really cool.
You and me.
Yeah.
So the only people that know.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Because we really do. When our mind starts kind of going in a spiral, we do need something.
You need an anchor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly that. That you can touch and it brings you back.
Yeah.
And you can just, even if you hold it or sit with it.
Yeah.
And just, okay, Lord.
Yeah.
I'm here. What am I seeing? What am I smelling? What am I feeling? And that really does help to bring us back.
Yeah.
And through that season of grief, that's very real.
Yeah.
And grief, from what I'm hearing from friends too, is that it's unpredictable. You can be somewhere that you least expect and a wave will come on.
You can smell something.
Yes.
Yeah, that was, I think, the biggest thing when I lost my dad about 10 years ago. There are times that I will smell somebody that has a cologne on, and it doesn't matter how long it's been. It becomes just as real in that moment as it was when they passed. So there's a sweetness to it as well. That it can, like you said, the bracelets can bring you back into that moment.
That's a beautiful anchor and a way to honor whoever they're wanting to honor and remember.
Yeah. And sometimes, like a lot of people do the words for the year.
Yeah.
I hop around too much to have one word a year. So it's usually just a word for whatever the season is I'm in at the moment. But just to have, and mine with last year was keep. So I had a bracelet that was keep. It's like, just keep trying, just keep praying, just keep breathing, just keep moving forward, keep showing up. So it's whatever keep was, I just needed to keep going. So that was kind of my word. And I'd look at it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep. I just need to keep. So it helped keep me focused, keep me focused. So so I like having the word. Sometimes all you can get is a word. Like when you're in a hard season or you're in a valley, sometimes it's just, and if we can get a word from the Lord, you can live on a word. You just need one word.
That's true.
No matter what's happening, if he can give you a word to stand on.
And we really can hear what that word is when we'll allow ourselves to slow down, like you said, and sit with it and quiet our mind.
Yeah.
The Lord does want to speak to us. We just have to turn off all the other things. But to be able to have that word and that anchor to bring us back to center. Yeah. Because like you and I were saying, there's so many different things that are pulling at us for our attention, to have whatever that is to pull us back and refocus us. What is mine to do? What do you have for me, Lord? That's a beautiful reminder. Yeah. What a gift. Christie.
I love doing it. It's really, really been an honor. It's some of the bracelets are really hard just because you think about, you pray over the families and it's like, there's a lot of weight to that. Yeah. It's like, you think it's not just beads. There's so much more. It's a story, and it's a life, and it's a person, and it's dreams, and you hold all that in the palm of your hand. So it's an honor, really.
And I think that brings up a good point too, of walking with our friends through grief. It's such a hard thing, and we can feel it, and we know, and sometimes we so desperately don't want to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So we don't do anything. And that's worse. But I think that it's that dance that we're all like, I don't know what to do. Oh, I don't want to do this. So really, I know that you and I are both saying, like, we don't really know.
We don't, yeah.
But what have you learned, maybe just as walking closely with some friends this year?
I think the biggest thing that I learned, we talk about the ministry of presence, right?
Yeah.
Allowing people space to process, as raw and as unfiltered as it can be, and not say anything. Like, you can't fix them out. You can't make them feel better. You can't fix the problem, but allowing them a safe space to be really honest about how they feel. And it's like, and if you're mad at the Lord, and I've heard all kinds of things, and it's like, okay. And it's okay to be able to, God's big enough to handle that. It might make me uncomfortable, and usually we want to fix a situation. So we'll say things because it's making me feel really uncomfortable. But I think the biggest thing I've learned is just sitting with people in that and allowing them the safe place. Because I have a friend that she's like, I can say however I'm feeling, I can just say it around you, and it's safe, and you're not trying to fix me. Like, yeah, I said, it's just safe that way. And then I text people, it's like, I'm just thinking of you. I don't expect a response back, where I'll just give you a hug. I have no words for you, but I have a feeling. And it's like, sometimes that's all somebody needs. You don't need the words. I think I heard somebody say the greater the pain, the less the words. Ooh. So more pain there is, the less the words that you should have. So I think that's the biggest thing I learned. There's a visual I have in my head about, somebody's in a pit, a really dark black pit, and you want to get them out, and you can't. And so, we can talk to them from up here, and I'm going to encourage you down in the pit. But what happens when you crawl down in the pit and you sit in the dark and you can't do anything, but you're present with them, and they're not alone. And they know that they're going to walk through this, and you're just going to be with them, and you're going to walk through it with them. So I think it's such a sacred space to be in with somebody. It's really heavy. It's especially for somebody that's empathetic. But man, I wouldn't trade it. Yeah. I wouldn't trade it at all. And there's a lot of times I don't know what to say. I just don't. And so I find I don't say anything. Right. But then, the practical, show up at their door with some food, but you don't have to engage with them. Right. Provide meals or whatever you can do to help around them. And if you ask them what you can do to help, just do something, because they're not going to be able to tell you. No. They don't know. Right. I think that for my personality, I know how the Lord has gifted me. It's really just being, just sitting with somebody.
Which is so powerful. I remember having a friend do that with me too. Because I didn't know I didn't know what I needed, and I didn't really need anything. I was just grieving. Yeah. But to have a friend sit there and let you cry, or just bring Ben and Jerry's and eat it with you. Yep. Like, that's great too. Yeah. Because when we're walking through a difficult situation, the enemy likes to say, you're the only one. Yeah. You're the only one. And that's such a lie. Yeah. And so having that friend right there, just to be there, is really beautiful. Yeah. I hadn't shared it. I don't know if I've shared it with anybody, but I had a story when we went to Israel, and I was really struggling, because part of walking with people is me not understanding. And because this family was so close to me, I struggled in my faith. And then we lost Liza, and I really struggled with the Lord, and I was really angry with the Lord for a while, and I couldn't sing. And everything that was, I'm like, he's not a good father. I just doubted the goodness of God. And it was an interesting, and I knew God was able to handle it, but for me, who just loved to sing and to connect with him, and I didn't want to.
So I knew it would be a season, at least I hoped it would. And my poor husband didn't know what to do with me because I would just spout stuff, anger. It's having the safe place for somebody, because I needed it.
Yep.
And we went to Israel, and we went to the Garden of Gethsemane. And we couldn't walk actually in the garden, but there was like fencing. And I remember standing there with my head up against the fence. And it was so tangible that it was like Jesus walked up and just put his head there too. And there weren't words. And there was no explanation he could give me. He's like, I can't tell it, but he was the ministry of presence for me. He's like, I'm just going to stay here with you. I understand how this feels. And he couldn't tell me anything to explain, well, why did this happen? Or why did he allow it? Or, why do bad things happen to really good people?
Yeah.
And I couldn't get any of those answers, and I wanted them. But in that moment, knowing he's like, I'm right here, and I'm feeling this, but to feel his grief, along with mine, because then he had the empathy for me, which was a really sweet. And I'm like, okay, I can take that as a why. It did something in my heart to know that he was grieving with me.
Right. Wow.
So I think that's what helps me grieve with other people.
Hold the space.
Just hold the space.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I love it. I'm over here like,
a lot.
I'm needing a tissue. Hold on. But that just gives us a tangible way to love others.
Yeah.
When we don't know what to do, it's not really that we need to do anything.
We just need to be.
Yes.
Yes. Sometimes it is just a hug.
Yeah.
It's being his arms, right? It's being his hands and feet. Now, sometimes there's words that you can use to encourage, but a lot of times it's deeper than that. You get to share a piece of your heart with somebody who's as broken. It's like, I'll let you lend some of mine until, and then when they walk through grief, it's for a long time.
Right.
So it's the continuing to ask, how are you doing? And when I ask that, I actually am looking for a response, not I'm fine. It's like, I really actually want to know how you're doing, at least in this moment.
And for you to be paying attention to and attune to like what the Lord puts on your heart, and that when you hear it, you text a friend, or
instantly.
you ask a friend, or you pray for that friend. That's also a gift that you have when we can slow down. And when we're not distracted with all the things, we can hear those. Yeah.
And you can get out of your own way, because you'll be like, should I really text them? Am I going to bother them? Is it going to, for them to is it going to hurt, cause more pain? It's like, I've learned quickly with the Lord, it's like, it can't hurt to check on somebody.
Never.
It can never hurt to love on somebody. So I just do it now, and it's up to him. So I'm just the messenger.
Right.
I just do what he tells me to do.
Yeah. And we don't know. We don't know what they're walking through.
Yeah.
And we don't actually need to know, because we're just that messenger. Like,
I'm just thinking about you today.
Right.
I'm just praying for you today.
Because, we don't know if a friend is like, I'm not feeling seen. I'm not feeling heard. I'm not feeling loved. And then for you to send a text and all of a sudden they're like, oh, thanks, Lord. Okay. And
it uses the body.
Yes.
Yeah. He uses us to communicate with people too.
That's cool. Thank you for that. I love it. Man, it just brings us back to the ministry of presence. Yeah. The ministry of having our presence being focused on the Lord, our presence with friends. It's so important. It's so important.
It's the slowdown that's really hard.
Man.
And then getting used to, I think it's a practice, right? So you have to it's not going to feel natural to just sit with the Lord. You're going to feel like you're wasting time, or your mind's wandering around. I think that's why this book has been so good.
Yes.
So learning how to do that, because I haven't arrived. I still want to just be able to sit, not strive.
Preaching to the choir over here, guys.
I still work pretty hard.
Yes.
But yeah.
And even I think I learned that lesson time and time again, like at a silent retreat, which that's the only time that I probably will slow down, but where the Lord is like, look, I can do so much without you saying a thing or doing anything. And I don't know why that always blows my mind.
Yeah. And why we would think the God of the universe actually wants to spend time with us.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want to be with you.
Yes. And what a gift.
Mm-hmm.
What a gift that we get.
Yeah.
And that he wants.
He chooses
us. Yeah. I know. Yeah. I was reading this morning in what is the New Morning Mercies, but it's the Advent devotional. And he was talking about how, everything that we're learning is countercultural. Like everything Jesus does is countercultural, right? And how in our world, we have that push pull of what the culture wants, bigger, faster, better, this and that, right? But what did Jesus model for us? He came in on a donkey.
Yeah.
And he was quiet and he was humble and he didn't come to be served.
Yeah.
He came to serve.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful reminder.
But he was so strong.
Yes.
That it wasn't a doormat. I think that's what it's like. He's not a sissy. He's not passive.
Right.
It's like there's incredible to have that much strength and to pull it back.
Right.
It's like there was so much strength there.
Right. To where he's like, I can do anything.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Right. Christie was alluding to this book, y'all.
It's such a good book.
Yeah. It's Practicing the Way by John Mark Comer. And we were talking before we started that I bought the book so I could reference back to it, but I've been listening to it. You can listen to it on Audible. That's what you're listening. And I'm listening to it on Spotify. I will say it's one of the most beautiful things to it says practicing the way, be with Jesus, become like him, and do as he did.
Yeah.
For us to just simply be able to practice what he modeled for us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to, I think so many of us, especially as Christian women, we want to be like Jesus, but you can't be like anybody you're not spending time with. It's like, how do you be like, we're reading our Bible and stuff, but there is something about just being that we make it too complicated.
Always.
Yeah.
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 And it's
like,
not,
how do you expect to be like me if you're not spending any time with me? And it's like, and sometimes it's not another Bible study.
No.
I think we kind of fill it
with stuff.
Even worship music.
Right.
It's like, what is it to just learn to be in his presence without any additive?
Right. Right. It's not the doing.
It's not the doing.
Yeah. That's a good thing for us in this new year to be like, okay, let's take a look at what all I'm putting into my calendar. Am I just doing for others because I'm trying to fill something, or am I practicing being?
Yeah.
Am I practicing being present? I'm just preaching to myself over here. Don't mind me. I love that. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. So I had asked you to, Christie, at the beginning, which you were like, this is an interesting question, but I ask everyone.
Yeah.
I feel like it's, for me, the 10-year-old self for me is kind of where I go back to the little girl that wasn't trying to please others.
Yeah.
That was just getting to walk in that childlike faith and that gifting. And so I asked you that question, what would you tell your 10-year-old self?
Yeah.
It was a beautiful response.
It wasn't a response I expected.
Yeah.
Because I had all those thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, what if she didn't live in fear? What if she wasn't looking for significance in other people, or to be included, or to belong? It's like I could give her that advice. But had I given her that advice and she took it, I would not be where I am today. The choices were hard. They were, the stumbling was hard. But I wouldn't have my daughter. I wouldn't have my marriage.
Yeah.
Had I given her any of that advice. Because it just reminded me, it's like, you wouldn't be where you are had you had all that advice.
Yeah.
Like, if I knew then what I know now. But I think what I would have told her is like, you're going to be okay, and he has a plan. It's like, no matter what decisions you're making, you're going to be okay, and he has a plan. It's like, I know what it looks like on the end. So yeah, it was weird. It's like, I wouldn't have changed a thing.
Yeah.
Because I have so many blessings that I couldn't, any alteration of that from that path would have given me a completely different result, and I wouldn't have changed what I had.
Yeah.
It was just an interesting thought. I think the Lord kind of laid on me. I was like, wow, that wasn't the answer I was expecting. Okay. I can think about that for a while. And I told Bob that, and he's like, wow, He goes, I have never thought of it that way.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that because God is sovereign.
Yeah.
Like every choice that you made led you here because
it led me to him.
Yes.
Every choice I made led me to him.
Yeah.
And I can't say that any of those paths, had they been different. Of course, he is sovereign, right? But oh my gosh, I'd be missing out on some of the fight was his going for the one out of the 99. I mean, as hard and as painful as some of those seasons were, I just couldn't give any of them up.
Man.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Not unexpected, but
it was very
beautiful.
unexpected.
So we've talked about a lot of different things today, but
Yes.
what do you think would be some closing thoughts for all of us as we have entered into a new year? We're now 2 months into this new year.
Yeah.
What would be just some closing thoughts?
I think what I was telling you is like, and I use this for me a lot. It's okay to not be okay. I'll remember, like, there'll be times if I'm really grieving and I'm crying and the wound is raw.
Yeah.
The thought will occur to me, it's okay to cry. It's not going to feel this way forever.
Yeah.
So it's like, I shouldn't be crying about this. And we try to, it's like, allow it to breathe, allow it to process, cry about it, be mad about it. If you got to throw something do it. Be real with what you feel. And know that it's not going to feel like this forever. Yeah. But you have to go through, if you try to stifle and say, I'm fine. I think that the line I've used with people now, depending on what season I'm in, they'll be, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm not okay, but I'm going to be. I'm struggling right now, but it's going to be okay. And so I get really honest. That's the biggest thing at my age now. I'm really honest about how I think and how I feel.
I like that.
I don't like to buffer it. I don't like to hide it.
Right.
It doesn't help anybody.
No.
So I think being the biggest thing even for me for 2025 is like, just be really honest about where you are, because you can't go anywhere if you don't know where you're starting from. If you're not willing to say, this is what this is and be okay calling. It's like, yeah, I'm pissed at God. It's okay to say that. And it's okay to be mad at him. He's big enough. Yep. And he will ride that out with you. It's like, and I've proved it. I mean, I've seen it in my life when I wasn't sure who God even was. I'm like, I think the biggest thing I learned through some of that season of just being so angry at him, it's like, but Lord, where else do I have to go? Because I knew him and I know him. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep going back. As angry as I am, just keep going back. And it took a long time to be able to surrender, but it wasn't something, it was a mutual. He met me at the place that I laid it at his feet. He didn't just say, okay, lay at my feet and he doesn't. He picks you and he picks that thing up. He goes, I'm going to take your broken pieces and I'm going to make something really beautiful out of it. He goes, but you got to give me the pieces. Yeah. And I sometimes I just work in pictures. It's like, I keep thinking about a puzzle piece. I'm like, maybe I need to make this piece of jewelry. It's that he gives you that one piece of the stinking puzzle. And I did puzzles during Corona. And I remember finishing this huge puzzle and I'm missing one piece that took me like a week to find. I'm like, we haven't left the house. I don't know where it's gone. So, but you have that one piece. And if you can't see the box, what the picture looks like, you have no idea what that picture is. He has the idea of the picture, but then to understand that picture is part of another picture. So when in God's workings, it's like there's so much happening outside of our little puzzle piece. Yeah. That he's working on that can be affecting somebody in another country for all you know. So and even through the grief that I've walked through of losing people and having some of them extremely tragic, he's like, I'm still at work. You don't know you have this that you're looking at. He goes, but I see all of it. And you don't see how that one piece is changing everything. It's like, just trust the one piece. It's like, I've got it figured out. And so I've had to learn, it's like, okay, I don't understand. And this doesn't feel right, but I know you're right. And I can't go on my feeling because the enemy will be like, but God, didn't he, is he really good if he let that happen? Like, goes right back to the Adam and Eve. Did he really say? I'm like, okay, I need to recognize that's a lie. Yeah. That's a big fat lie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So being in my word and understanding what he's actually said
Mm-hmm.
helps me from getting confused.
Yeah.
But then I have to trust the truth when it doesn't feel like the truth. So yeah, it's okay to not be okay, and trust the truth when it doesn't feel like the truth.
Man,
Maybe that's it.
thank you. That's phenomenal. Phenomenal. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's okay to not be
It's okay
okay.
to not be okay.
And let us all just be real with
Yeah.
each other this year.
Yeah. And find somebody you can talk to,
Yes.
that you can be. Not everybody's a safe place,
Correct.
but find a safe place and be a safe place
Mm.
for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Be the friend.
Be the friend you
That-
want to have.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Christy.
Welcome.
Thank you for joining me on this journey of restoration and renewal. Remember, you can stay connected with me between episodes by following me on Instagram. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to ensure you never miss an episode. And if you found value in our conversation today, I'd truly appreciate it if you leave a review on your favorite podcast platform or share the show with a friend who might benefit from these rhythms. Until next time, may you find peace in knowing that you can show up every day simply as you are. And that is enough. Take care.